Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Mo again. Well, this lecture we're going to be looking at is VTP, VLAN Trunking Protocol. What is VTP? Watch this. We saw earlier that we had a little trouble. So I'm going to put a switch over here, and I'm going to put another switch. Remember in our previous labs, I had to create the VLANs here, and I also had to create the VLANs right over here. I had to create them on all switches. Okay, we're going to avoid that. Here's my switch one. Here's my switch two. I'm going to be putting a crossover cable between switch to switch. So gigabit 01 to gigabit 01 right over here. All right. Let me get rid of the port labels. We don't actually need that. So let me remove this. So let me go to switch one, CLI, right? And let me change the host name to switch one. So host name is SW1 and over here host name is SW2. Let's do that. So global configuration mode, host name SW2. Okay, so what I want to do is the following. Watch this. So I'm going to say VLAN, watch this, 10, enter, name sales. VLAN 20, enter name tech. So I have sales and tech. So if I do Control Z and I do a show VLAN right over here, I see VLAN number 10 and I see VLAN number what? 20. So there's a VLAN 10 and there's a VLAN what? 20 over here. You see that? But if I go to my other switch, watch this. Look at this. And I do Control Z and I do show VLAN. It's like, hello, you don't have the VLANs here. You better create them manually. You see this? Okay, I don't want to do that. I want to work with something called VTP, VLAN Trunking Protocol. So I go back to the first switch. What does that do for us? Let's take a look. Show VTP status. Okay, by default, when I do show VTP status, what does it tell me over here? It tells me that, first of all, there's no domain name, and it tells me that it's actually in what? In server mode. What does VTP do? VTP allows you to add, modify, and manage VLANs from one switch, and it propagates to another switch. So, in other words, in plain English, if I create VLANs on one switch, they will sync to another switch. I don't have to go to the other switch and create them. If I delete the VLAN from one switch, they will be deleted from the other switch. They have to be part of the same domain. It's like having a client server network. That's why there's an actual VTP domain name. By default, there are like three different modes. There's client mode, server mode, and transparent. By default, all switches are in server mode. Server mode, which means you could add, you could delete, you could modify VLANs, and they will sync to other switches. Client mode, you cannot add, you cannot delete, you cannot modify, but they will accept replication from the ones in server mode as long as they have the same domain name. I'm going to focus on the client and the server mode first. Okay, well, first of all, I have to configure an actual domain name. So I'm going to go to global configuration mode, VTP, put a question mark, and come up with a domain. My domain is going to be called Udemy, just like this. I could say Udemy dot, let's say edu. So now I'm changing the domain name from nothing to Udemy.edu, and I could say VTP, ask for help, mode. I know that it's already in server mode. I just want to do it manually. This is actually, it's already in server mode, as you see. Then I'm going to do a VTP password, and I'm going to call the password CCNA. Now I set up the password also to CCNA. Okay, so I'm going to do WR, all right? And I'm going to do show VTP status. And I can see, okay, the domain name is udemy.edu. It's in server mode. You see that? And that's what I wanted to configure here. Well, if I go to my other switch over here, I'm going to go to switch two. I only should have one in server mode and the rest in client mode because I just want to make sure I could make changes from one and they will sync to the rest. So if I do show VTP status over here, it doesn't see the domain name. Well, let me trunk the ports. That's why it's called VLAN trunking protocol. Okay, watch this. So let me go to global configuration mode. Interface gigabit 0/1, switch port mode trunk. Now I trunk the port. Okay, so you must trunk the port. Remember this? This is the number one thing when you connect from switch to switch or switch to router. Okay, let me fast forward and go to this switch over here and take a look and see the settings. Okay, show interface trunk. Okay, this is nice. I don't see the VLANs. That's fine. Show VTP status. It's actually still in actually what? Server mode over here. It's not trunked, as you see. If I go to my other switch, right over here, and I do show VTP status, show VTP status. I can see that. Okay, let me save my configuration And let me save the configuration here, okay? And let me power cycle my entire topology, which is this right over here. Power cycle the devices. Then I'm going to fast forward the time itself. Now what I'm going to do is the following. I'm going to go to the switch, and I'm going to do show VTP status. Enter. Okay, so it's in server mode. So what I'm going to do is global configuration mode. VTP domain is udemy.edu. See that? Now I change it. Then I'm going to go ahead and do what? VTP, let's say password is what? CCNA. Okay, now I said the password. All right. WR, show VTP status. Okay, Udemy, it's still in server mode. You see that? Okay, what if I do show VLANs? I don't see the VLANs. I should see the actual VLANs. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let me just go back over here with the Cisco packet tracer. It may take time to sync. Show VTP status. Okay, Udemy, show VLANs. I see VLAN 10 and 20. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to trigger it. Watch how. Gigabit 01, I'm going to say shut this down and do a no shut. Let me trigger the interface. So it affects this side. It's like, hello, there is something I need to tell you about. And then I'm going to go back over here and see right now, show VLAN. I still don't see. Show, let's say, VTP status. I can see udemy.edu. Okay, I did put the password. Let me look at my show VTP question mark, and let me see the password, right? And see it's actually CCNA. And over here, show VTP password, it's also CCNA. Okay, what I'm going to do is last thing. I'm going to say VLAN 30. I'm going to trigger it with more VLANs, name QA. Okay, show VLAN, right? I can see VLAN 10, 20, and 30. And then let me go back to this side and see if this got triggered. All right, show VLAN. Oh, there you go. Okay, I just have to trigger it. Sometimes a reset, a shut, a no shut. I just added another VLAN. Look, the VLANs got synced from one side to another. This one is in server mode. Show VTP status. And look, it's actually in server mode. Okay, what does that mean? I could create VLANs. I could say VLAN 40, name, let's say HR. Do we have HR, folks? No, we don't. Okay, and press enter. Now I minimize this and I go to this switch and I didn't have a VLAN 40. Okay, let me do show VLAN again. Watch this. This is amazing. Show VLAN. Now I see VLAN 40. So when you're in server mode, you could add, delete, and modify VLANs, and they will sync from one switch to another. As long as we have the same domain name and the same actual password, they're both in server mode as you see, right? That's what I wanted to show you about VTP. And there's more and more about VTP itself, but by default, it's actually in server mode. And now the VLAN sync. This does not sync port configuration. When I say port configuration, that means if I get a laptop over here and let me hook up a cable from here to here, okay? And let me go to this switch and say, I want to go to port one. Watch this. I have 0/1 switch port access VLAN 10. If this goes to port like port one goes to actually VLAN 10, and I do show VLAN, and I can see it here, it's not going to sync the port configuration on this switch. It only syncs the VLAN names. Remember this. So you have to move the ports manually. Okay. So if I do show VLAN, I'm not going to see it anyway. I don't have an actual computer, but let's say I bring myself a laptop over here and I do the same thing and I hook up a cable from here, all right, to actually port what? One, and I say, let me go back and see, it's not going to be in the list. Okay. So when you talk about VTP, it adds, deletes, modifies VLANs from one switch to another, but it does not do port configuration. All right. It doesn't move the ports to the corresponding VLAN. Let's remember that. Let's continue with another interesting VTP topic in our next lecture. So we'll see you folks soon. Bye now. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Mo again. In this lecture, we're going to continue with VTP, VLAN Trunking Protocol. Look at this. I'm going to go ahead and start something new. So I'm going to get myself two switches. So where are the switches? Right over here. I'm going to get two of them, two 2960 switches. Let me just increase the fonts. So remember, it doesn't do port configuration. And let me put my crossover cable right now because I actually need it. All right. Gigabit 01 to gigabit 01. Okay, so this is going to be called switch one, right? And this one's going to be called switch what? Two. Let me just show you another way where I did a lot of things manually in our previous lecture. So first of all, I know that I should actually what? Trunk this port. So first of all, let me go ahead and change the host name to switch one. And I'm going to go to interface gigabit 0/1, switch port mode trunk. Okay. I like to do shut and I like to do no shut. See that? And do WR. Okay, now I'm going to go to my other switch, which is switch number two. All right. So look, it says blocking. Something happened, trunking, non-trunking, right? So let's take a look and see. Config T, host name, switch number two. And then I'm going to go to interface, gigabit 0/1. I'm going to do shut, and I'm going to do no shut. Okay, so to turn the interface up, then control Z. Okay, so now they should be up and running. Okay, let me go to this side and configure VTP. Watch this right now. VTP, domain, I'm going to call it what? Udemy edu or just Udemy. Enter. So my domain name is just called Udemy over here. This time I'm going to say VTP, okay, mode server. It's already in server mode, so this is actually fine. All right. So just to let you know, VTP password CCNA. Okay, so I'm setting up the password. Remember, the VLANs, when you create them, they're stored in the flash into a VLAN.bat file, and then I'm going to save my configuration and do WR. Okay, perfect. Let me go ahead to this side over here and take a look and see. Let's see. Show VTP status. Okay, you see, I see it. So normally you would actually trunk at the beginning and all that. I just want to show you how it's done manually. So I have Udemy, and this is actually in server mode. So what I need to do is I don't need to come up with a domain name, VTP password CCNA. I see I'm setting up the password. VTP mode, I'm switching this to client mode. See this? To client mode, which means I cannot add, delete, or modify VLANs. I could accept from the server mode. Okay, so let me save my configuration. Let me go back to this switch, right? And do Control Z and show what? Show VLAN. Nothing. All right. So global configuration mode, VLAN space 10, enter, name sales. VLAN 20, enter, name, let's say tech. Okay. Let me see if I go to the other switch. Do I see the VLANs? Show VLAN. See, I see 10 and 20. So it's good to do trunking at the beginning, and then they will start syncing. But let me see if I can create a VLAN over here. VLAN 30, enter, name HR. Oh, you can't. Okay, VLAN 30, VLAN space 30, enter. You can't. You're in quiet mode. You see this? Okay, no VLAN 10. You can't. You're in client mode. So the only difference is client mode will accept replication from the server mode. So if I go back over here and I say I have, what VLANs do I have? Show VLAN 1020. Okay, let me add VLAN 30. VLAN 30, enter, name HR. All right. Show VLAN. Watch this 10, 20, and 30. Nice. I go to this switch and I say show VLAN over here. Show VLAN. And look, I see 10, 20, 30. Now I want to say, okay, I got it synced. Let me come back to this switch and say no VLAN 10. Fig T, no VLAN space 10. I removed it. Okay, Control Z, show VLAN, and I could see that. Now I have VLAN 20 and what? VLAN 20 and 30. So this is one thing I could do. I go back to switch 2 and look at this over here, and I do show VLAN. I'm not going to see VLAN number 10. So it's always good. Only have one in server mode and the rest of the switches in client mode. The client mode cannot add, modify, or delete VLANs. And remember, this does not do port configuration. I want to see a bigger topology in our next lecture, and I want to see what transparent mode is. So remember, there's client, there's server, there's transparent. So we'll see you folks in our next lecture. Bye now. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Mo again. Well, in this lecture, we're going to continue more about VTP. Look at the topology that I'm going to be creating right now. So I'm going to get myself four switches. One, two, three, four. And then I'm going to get actual cables. So watch this crossover cable. Watch this. Gigabit 01 to gigabit 01. And watch this. Gigabit 02. Let's say to gigabit 02. and gigabit zero 01 to gigabit zero 01. See that? Just like this. What I'm going to do right now is this one is going to be in server mode. This one is going to be in client mode. This one is going to be in transparent mode, and this one will be in client mode. So we'll see a chance what is transparent mode. So I have different switches as you see. Well, the best thing to do is I want to give them names. So first of all, this is switch one. This one is switch two. This one is switch three. And this one is switch four, just like this. So switch one, two, three, and four. Let me go ahead and trunk the ports. So if I'm using just one, I'm using gigabit zero 01. If it's both of them, it's gigabit zero 02. So let me go back to this switch over here. First of all, let me change the host name, right? So global configuration mode, host name, switch one. And I'm going to do interface gigabit 0/1. I'm going to say switch port mode. So I'm trunking the actual port, right? So this port is actually trunk. Then do WR itself. So that's one thing to do. Now I'm going to go to switch two, right, and do the following: config T, host name, switch two, right, and I'm going to do both interfaces. Interface, let's say range, gigabit Ethernet 0/1 to 2, right? Why not? Switch port mode, trunk, and then do WR. And this is switch three, right? I don't have to, but I want to do manually. Host name SW3, interface range gigabit Ethernet 0/1 to 2, switch port mode trunk. See that? This is actually fine. So I did switch port mode trunk, do WR. And this one right over here, this is called switch 4, right? Global configuration mode, host name switch 4. And then I'm going to do interface range gigabit Ethernet 0/1 to 2 and switch port mode trunk. And then I'm going to do WR, save my configuration. So as you see, this is what I actually have on all of these. So that's one thing to know. So this is the only one that is going to be in transparent what mode, as you see. Okay, so that's only one. Did I do WR? I did WR here. I did WR here. I did WR here, right? This is good. And I did WR here. I like to go ahead and power cycle, okay, and click on yes. So power cycle the devices, fast forward, everything looks fine. Okay, so what I'm going to do is the following. I'm going to go ahead and configure the name of my VTP. So config T, I'm going to say VTP domain is actually called what? Udemy, just like this. Okay, VTP domain is Udemy. That's the only thing I want to do. By default, it's in server mode. I'm not going to put a password yet, so I'm going to leave it as it is. So when I do show VTP status, I can see the domain name is Udemy. Okay, I go to this switch over here and I do the following same thing: show VTP status. And is the domain name Udemy? Yes. See how it's synced? I go to this switch over here and I do show VTP status, show VTP status, and the domain is not synced yet. Okay, it's going to take time to sync. How about over here? Let's take a look and see. Enable show VTP status, and it's not there. So eventually it's going to sync. What I could do is I could do shut and no shut on the ports. So if I go to this one, just to trigger it, watch this, interface range, gigabit Ethernet 0/1 to 2. And I could say shut, right? And then I could say what? No shut. So now I'm triggering the actual what? Ports themselves. So if I do a fast forward and I go to the switch, let me take a look and see show VTP status. Udemy, you see this? Okay, let me go to this one over here and see what I have. Show VTP status. I don't see that, so I should shut and not shut the port. Interface gigabit 0/1, I should shut and then no shut. So I need to shut and no shut the port. And then let me fast forward the time. And let's see over here, show VTP status. Show VTP status. Udemy. There you go. So a lot of times you have to actually what? Trigger it to make it actually work. Now I want to change this to client mode. Okay, so watch this. So I'm going to do global configuration mode. VTP mode is client. All right. And this one is also going to be client, which means I cannot make actual changes. And VTP domain name, domain itself is actually what? Client. VTP mode is client. right? Just like this. Okay, show VTP status, VTP status, and let's see, it's actually in client mode. And show VTP status is in what? Client mode. Show VTP status is in client mode. This is good. And this one is in server mode, folks. So watch this. Show VTP status, and this is going to be also in what? As you see, server mode. That's by default. Now, what is transparent? I want to switch this to transparent. Transparent, which means you could still add, delete, modify VLANs, but they're not going to sync to all the switches. You have your own local database. All right, watch this. Global configuration mode, VTP mode, and I'm going to choose transparent. All right, and save my configuration just like this. Now, what I'm going to do right now is this. I'm going to go to the switch here and create a VLAN. All right, global configuration mode, VLAN space 10, enter. So I'm going to create 10, enter, name sales, just one VLAN. So if I do show VLAN over here, watch this. I have VLAN number 10. I go to this switch over here, right? And I want to see what I have, and I do show VLAN over here. Oh, you have VLAN 10. Perfect. How about this switch? Does it have VLAN number 10? Show VLAN, and I have VLAN 10. Perfect. How about the one in transparent mode? No, it's not going to have the VLAN here. It's going to have its own local database. So if I create a VLAN over here, VLAN space, let's say 50, enter, name, and call it test. Have a test VLAN. Show VLAN. I have VLAN 50 test. Okay. Does this one have it? No. It's going to have its own local database. So for most likely for testing, show VLAN. I'm not going to see it. Show VLAN. I'm not going to see it. It passes through. Like for example, when I say passes through, VLAN 10 was created here. It's synced over here. This one, because it's on the same domain, is like, I'm in transparent. I'm not going to put it on my side, but I'll send it to the other side because they're actually in client mode. They can still talk to each other. See that? And now when I do show VTP status, I can see this is good. And here. So if I go back over here, just to do another test, config T, and I say VLAN space 20, enter. Name what? Well, let's say tech, right? Let's say name is tech. Okay, Control Z, go VLAN. Watch this. I have VLAN 10 and 20, of course. 20 just got actually created, as you see. Did VLAN 20 get created over here? Go VLAN. Yes, I see 20. Did VLAN 20 get created over here? No, it did not. Show VLAN. It did not because it has its own local database. How about over here? Yes, I should have it. Show VLAN. Okay, can I remove VLAN 20 from here? No, VLAN space 20. No, I can't. It's in client mode. Okay, can I remove it from here? Yes, this is the only place where you can add and remove and delete VLANs. So no VLAN, let's say 20. And now this one is not going to have it. Watch this. Control Z, and I do show VLAN. So it's not going to have it at all. So what I'm trying to say is, oh, it's still actually there. Show VLAN. Let me see the other switch. Let's take a look and see here. Show VLAN. Okay, it's not there. It took a few seconds. And let me see over here on this switch again. Show VLAN. Okay, it's still there. It may take a few seconds to trigger. But look, this switch will never be affected. Why? Because it's in transparent mode. That means it's what? Whatever VLANs you create will stay locally on that switch. But if I get a request from another switch about something, I will still forward it. Okay, I will still actually forward that. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Let me go back here. I just want to see why the VLAN was not actually taken off. VLAN 10 is still there. Okay, well, let me trigger it. Sometimes you have to trigger it, especially with a Cisco packet tracer. Interface gigabit 0/1 shut, and then I'm going to do no shut. All right, and fast forward and open this again and try one more time, show VLAN. And I don't see it now. You see that? It just takes time. That's what I wanted to show you about VTP so we can set up a password, a domain name, client mode, server mode, transparent mode. You're going to make your life easier when you have one switch as server mode and the rest are all client. So whatever VLANs you create on one, they will sync to the other switches. But remember, I still have to trunk the ports between the switches. And remember, the main important thing is it doesn't do port configuration. It only syncs the VLANs. All right. So we'll see you folks in our next lecture. Bye now.